Hello and welcome to Tales from the Shed.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier, so I thought this would be quite interesting, about you love going in the sea. You love being in the sea. Now, I know it's a big thing at the moment with the Wim Hof thing that's on the television.
The water is still freezing.
The water is still freezing. But Wim Hof does this method of cold, in case you haven't come across Wim Hof, the one person that does it. So he overcomes anxiety, overcomes fear by using breathing and being in very cold water or cold ice or cold snow, cold situations. And by relying on the breath, the body has an intelligence to overcome all adversity just by sitting on the breath. And it's really interesting because it works in some ways. And I've got a lovely couple, well, quite a few clients who use his method. And one of the connecting ideas with the clients seems to be they've gone through some shock or some trauma, and they find that this method has really overcome PTSD in massive ways. And I know he works with people with PTSD, and that's really interesting. And I'm a real baby when it comes to it, but you've always said
you only just hold the towels, can't you?
I would hold the towels with a thick coat.
You'd be having my dry robe just to hold the towels.
Just to hold the towels. I do understand that. I'm in that I have done other things. I've done rock climbing, I've done snow and ice climbing, and I have been in different places where I really understand, and I love meditation and using the breath. And I think it's a nice physical way. So I know you love swimming in the sea, and we're so lucky down in Devon and in Cornwall that we have so many beaches.
I know.
So tell me about your experience with swimming and how it makes you feel.
It's been interesting because, of course, cold water swimming is a thing at the moment.
It is a thing at the moment.
And it kind of came up in lockdown and all this kind of stuff about more people were doing it and all of this kind of stuff. There seems to be all these different ways that you can do it. You can be a polar bear, and you can swim all the way through.
You can be a penguin. You start being a penguin.
Yeah,
I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. And you have to get certificates and tick boxes.
Oh, really?
And you think, it's the sea.
Don't do any of that. But it's like, then there's a hierarchy of with the wetsuit and not having the wetsuit,
gloves.
And the rash vest. Oh, well, actually, gloves are a bloody good idea. But I'm thinking that I might need to get that. Or boots would be a good idea. And then you have the skin, skin swimmers, what I would call people who. That means you just wear your costume. It's not. You're naked.
No.
You're naked. So, and then we had that whole thing about the dry robe. So I need the dry robe, and then people wait. No, I have been guilty of wearing my dry robe in the supermarkets on my way back from having the swim. But so all of these other things then got laid over the top. And it's interesting for me because, I grew up not far from the sea, and I just remember as a child, we would go down from April, we would go down to the beach, and it was a production, because we had to have the lunch. There was a beach down in Cornwall that you could only get to by going down this ridiculous cliff path. But my mother insisted that we had to have the chairs and the table, and the picnic and everything. And you went down there, and once you were there all day, and it didn't matter if the weather turned or anything like that, because you were there because we'd gone all the way to the beach and we stayed all day. So what's fantastic about where we are now, I can go to the beach for. I can be in the water for 10 minutes and I can come home and, I can have a cup of tea or, I'll take my breakfast sometimes and do that. So it's not such a big production.
Yeah.
But this year, because I suppose I've always been a kind of, I'm going to go in as long as I'm enjoying it. And last year I kind of started going in the sea about the end of May, and I managed to get through to the 1st of November. When I was swimming, and I was like thinking it was a bit choppy and it was bloody cold. And the thing in November, when you come out, it's bloody cold. And I'm thinking, I'm just doing this because I'm saying I can do it. So I'm not going to do it anymore. So that was my season. So this year, I think I went in on something like the 20th of April. And I was thinking, bloody hell, I've not been in the sea this early since I was probably about 7. So there's a bit of a connection back to how I was as a child. When there was no expectation that swimming in the sea did anything for you, in a sense, like you just went in the sea. That's
the thing, isn't it?
It doesn't make you a better human being.
I think just because you don't know the philosophy, it doesn't mean that it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and in fact, funny enough, these people that have said it's really helped with their PTSD went to the beach just almost instinctively. So they didn't read the book and understand it. And they found that by going in, they naturally have to change their breathing.
Well, normally when you go in, no, well, what I found is the interesting thing is if I go in, I have to go, I have to blow, I have to release.
So
because you're not going to like,
yeah, it's fine if you're going to run away, but if you really want to go in, you have to slow everything down. You have to decentralize away from the fact that your feet are cold or the fact that your hands are cold. And it's almost like taking your mind somewhere else. So they found this incredible value of mind over body, mind over stress, mind over everything, breathing over everything, completely accidentally.
I mean, and it is interesting. So I'm in a shorty wetsuit at the moment, and it was really fun. There was one day I went down to this beach, and there's a whole load of people there hanging out in their dry robes. And I kind of went, "Oh, have you just been in there?" I went, "No, we're just having a chat before we go in." And there's a group that swim regularly from this beach at 7:45 every day, all the way through the year. They don't wear wetsuits. And I saw them this morning when I came out. I'd come out, and I was getting dressed, and I was coming off the beach, and they were coming on. They were like, "How is it? It's nice." You know, it doesn't feel like it's only in my head.
Yes,
I'm a lesser person because I've got a wetsuit on. They were quite friendly. They were like, whatever it is. And I said, "Oh, I'm doing this, and I'm hoping to, maybe next week it'll just be the rash vest and all the rest of it." And they went, "Oh, great." And I said, "Well, this is my first time I've been in this time of year." So they were really friendly and all of that. And it was nice. It was quite an accepting thing. And it's like, I'm just going to see how far I can go with it this year. Because maybe I will swim through the year, maybe I won't, but it'll just be because I want to do it.
I think that's the thing. It's following that instinct of what's good for you wherever you are. But I think the body instinctively knows, and this is back to Wim Hof again, which I know he's pulling out of it, whereas people have done it before, after, and without his help. But he explains it. But his ideology is the body knows. The body knows. The mind will block the body, but the body knows what's best. And if you can take the mind away and just let the intelligence of the body run, it was good. And I just watched him recently, and I've missed a few, but he put people in. The water was -3 or -4.
I mean, it's bad enough at 11 degrees, I'm telling you.
No, it's -3, and they had to go down on a ladder. And they swallowed a thermometer to keep them safe, so they could monitor their internal temperature, because you mustn't do this without that. And they had divers under the ice, because they went through the ice. Divers under the ice just in case. So they were completely safe, but they measured it. And in 15 minutes in the water at that temperature, the body stayed at 37.3 degrees.
Whoa.
It didn't change. And
that
then
seems impossible.
I know.
Really?
And I know, because they were just breathing, and they said, "It's time to get out now." And they went, "But I feel fine. I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out." They really didn't want to get out, because they said, "I feel so in the zone." And then when they interrupted and kept saying, "You've got to get out. It's dangerous. You've got to get out. You must get out now." His body temperature within about 20 seconds fell to 36 degrees, and they got him out. Right. So it was almost like once the mind gets involved, because they'd interrupted that zone. But he said it's so interesting, and it is a study, and it has to be done safely, because I wouldn't do that. But it was interesting how much more possibility we have when we stop our mind limiting us.
Yeah, and for me, it just feels like going back into my element. Back to my element, and it is. I can just go to the beach if I just get in. So this morning I just went in for 10 minutes and came back, and I almost felt like, right, now I'm ready to start the day.
So what's our message? Find your element, go swimming, breathe,
whatever. Yeah,
all of that.
But trust the body. Trust the body.
Trust the body.
Trust the body.